Man, you're not the usual guy on the camera. I'm worried. Welcome to the Tribe UG podcast, episode number 12, season 3. If you're watching, Damzi isn't around. She went to work on Damzi After Dark. So soon it's going to premiere very soon.
Podcast.
Yes. On that note, Umeme, Damzi After Dark. Sponsor. As usual, I'm with the guys, I'm with the crew, I'm with the gang.
Welcome back from Nairobi.
Speaking of Nairobi, first of all, I have to beat those allegations. I wasn't in Nairobi. You are making me a cheater. Yet black men don't cheat. Because when you say I'm in Nairobi and I'm not in Nairobi, Madam gets worried.
Our guest is worried. First, let's not go there. Let's first finish introducing ourselves. What about
We
Ian?
are starting with lies.
What up? Paulo the writer here. Welcome to episode 12, and we've really moved it. So I'm proud of the team behind the scenes. I was looking at last week's episode and I was like, wow, we've really moved. So yeah, behind the scenes, guys, no one applauds you, but on behalf of Felix, meals on him, drinks on him.
Ian really wants those pics to come out. He has been chasing Eric for them for that.
Ian is vibing the guys.
Eric, my planned child pics.
Before Ian gets off track, the Count Markula in the building. Welcome to everybody who is watching. If you're a first timer, guys, subscribe to the thing. And if you've been with us, thank you. Today we're in the building with a special guest.
Yep.
The lady to my right, for those that are watching.
I'm special.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Very
And before
exciting.
you introduce yourself, Felix got you.
Hey. This is the moment I embarrass everyone. But in brief, today we are joined by Maritza. Most of you know her as Mama Kla.
Yep.
Probably from the socials, probably from radio, probably on TV, probably somewhere where you went for an evening with a chane and she was on stage spitting some poetic lines and rhymes. In brief, she's a talented person.
Sounds so wet.
A very talented person. I've had the honor of being interviewed by her on TV.
Nice.
So now I'm flipping the script.
Anyway,
And now it's us today to interview her.
revenge.
And if you've been with us since season 1, there is that episode where Mark said, each one reach one, in regards to the Kwanzaa ladies. So so far we've hosted two. We reached 2. One to go. So in brief, Sabrina, if you're watching, soon.
We shall fetch her.
Yeah, all in all, Maritza, welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. First of all, I remember that time when you guys shouted out Kwanzaa. We felt like such a big deal.
Skinny big deal. Yeah.
Right? It was so nice. So thank you for having me. And you did homework. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I will have to say this before we even go anywhere. We've had a number of guests over the many seasons.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the Maritza bio and I was like, whoa, this is a proper bio.
Yeah.
And then Ian comes to the group, he's like, guys, this is the best. And I'm like, okay, so it's not me. I thought it was in my head. And then Ian said the same in the group. I was like, yes, I just said it. Like, it was.
Please, hype me. Let me tell you, by the way, it's hard. So when people say stuff like that, I'm like, okay, finally, a bio that I can pass around. Because, man, writing them bios without AI back in the day.
They made the job easier.
Follow the writer.
Wow.
But you know, that's the thing. As creatives, we're really good at creating, I guess, maybe rap, music, whatever. But when it comes to that mundane administrative work, the brain goes blank.
All of a sudden, you can't spell anymore. And you're like,
Twat.
but before we get into the interview and everything, we like to start by, finding out the soundtrack to your week. Because, we understand that everyone has had the week they've had.
Yes.
I've had Ian complaining. Let me not even go there.
Yeah.
But Maritza, if you had to pick a Ugandan song that describes how your week went, that resonates with how your week went.
Jagala Munakyalo. My chalo. Hey. Munakyalo. I don't even know that. Okay, I'm really bad with lyrics. We're going to find out later. But I listened to that song so much. I haven't played it at all this week, but it's been playing in my head. So I took a trip to Kisoro last week. Big mistake. Yeah, I'm leaving Kampala. I'm about to be a Munakyalo. Like I've spent this entire week plotting on how I'm going to end up in Kisoro. Because man,
there's a Munakyalo there.
There's a Munakyalo there that is just like them heels are busting. Like everything is just right. Like, oh my God. I came back to Kampala. I'm like, why am I in the city again? The Munakyalo, that's Ninja C, Agaba Banjo, and I forget the other artist's name.
Manly?
Was it? No, it's not Manly. There's another artist on it. Sorry, I'm so sorry. We shall Google and put those things that they put down.
Let them also Google. Family search. Make a research. Ian, over to you.
Well, it's been a long week, I think. You're seeing me here, but I could use some sleep. And I think my song of the week would be Hustler's Night, The Myth, Navio, and Enigma.
And Keko.
Yeah. Because my week has been so long. I've been getting home a bit late. Yesterday I got home a bit early, and so every night, the long nights, you're driving home, and it's just like
it's a hustler's night.
It's not easy. I can't. So it's just been a hustler's night the entire week, and that's just been my song of the week. Now I could just use some sleep. Can I go?
Felix?
For me, there's no particular reason why this is my song of the week. But swimming pool, Abdumlas. No particular reason.
You know what just played in my head? Pour up, drink. Drink.
Then he said no.
Yeah. So guys, check out that song. That guy is a good writer. Yeah.
Well, for myself, this was a crazy week. Like work, meets and beats. I'll get round to that. Everything has just been hectic, non-stop. And new episode release. Like there's just been so much all the time. And with the many things that were happening, from the food to the ladies to the work to the chasing money I was like, in this Kampala, I am the Kampala boy. Wake, poem by Wake on Flex's Kampala Boy album, and I felt it was perfect, especially considering our guest.
This is Mark being deliberate.
Very perfect.
I have to be deliberate.
He's trying to make us look bad.
No.
Because we have a poet.
In his defense, I don't think I know a bigger male Wake fan than this guy right here.
Yeah. Me and producer Hassan, there's that guy.
Hey,
Hassan.
We compete with each other.
So me, as far as I'm concerned, Ambassador Woon.
Hey, listen, wait.
This is the on-camera ambassador.
On camera. So there's another guy behind the scenes. Fire.
No,
Wake is fire.
Wake is fire.
Yeah.
And so I felt it was just fitting because I listened to it even on my way here and I was like, yeah, this really makes sense. So, yeah.
Max set us up.
You set us up.
But it's okay.
I mean, I guess there's a reason I'm seated in this.
Yeah. For once, we have got something.
Yeah, maybe the war may be over.
So, guys, Maritza.
Yeah. Song of
When
the
it comes.
week.
Cheers. Hey, Greg, you've already forgotten.
Yeah.
Munakyalo.
No. And you know, during the week I went
He has also been in outside districts. So he has been the Munakyalo of the week. But guys, before we proceed, we had another 256 Meets and Beats this week. And I just want to thank everybody who showed up because, oh my God, it was madness. Sorry, producer Hassa, you missed this one. But it was really, 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 really great. And for some reason, so we had Navio, of course, as we were trying to get ready for the 20 years of Navio concert. And I feel sorry for Ian because Ian was unavailable. Ian is, now you see I'm the Wake ambassador. Ian is the Navio ambassador.
Yep.
And Ian wasn't here for the Navio episode of the pod.
Yeah.
Then he was in his hustler night while missing the actual hustler. The singer of the song was at Meets and Beats and Ian was unavailable.
But
again.
tonight,
Which gods are you serving? They're not working
Those
properly.
gods must be crazy. But yes, thank you to everybody. Keep supporting. Next one, end of the month, of course. Last Wednesday of the month, 27th September. Yes, the numbers are always correct.
and there'll be cake. 3 days to my birthday.
Yes.
Oh, that's my friend's birthday. I should bring her. Cake.
So you add on the bill for the day. Birthday cake for me and her friend.
Yeah.
No, they're bringing a friend who has cake. So
No. I don't think it's edible.
Our behind the scenes crew is not serious. After Ian thanks them, they're already losing.
Yeah. The cake that will be. See.
Guys, return my thanks to the Momo code.
let's bring it back. Let's bring it
No,
back.
let's bring it back.
Bring it back.
Felix, take us away, please.
Maritza.
Yes.
So I want to start from the beginning. When you shared with us the bio,
Yeah.
it stated that you transitioned from being a spoken word artist into media,
Yes.
and when you got into media, you blended the two, sort of like doing them at the same time.
I tried.
Yeah. And then of recent, you are like, you know what, guys? Adios, deuces, I'm out. But let's start from there, being the spoken word artist who is like, you know what? Let me jump into media. How, first of all, the transition, how was it, and what was the inspiration behind that?
That was an easy decision. I was broke and I needed money.
You were looking for some
I was looking for some money. And then, because at the time I was doing spoken word, I was the PR for Open Mic Uganda.
Okay.
So as the host and the PR, so I used to go to different radio stations, interact with media people. And every time I did, now those guys can real whisper, eh? Every time I did, someone would be all up in my ear, you should do radio, you sound good, la la la. So, of course I thought about radio before, but mostly in production because I really love to create concepts. What spoken word artists do, write up stuff, create stories, tell a story. And that was my idea of what radio should be. I wasn't a big fan of Ugandan radio at the time.
Yeah.
I think the only person I used to listen to the most was KK. So, right? And what happened is I was in spoken word for 2 years. That's from 2012 to 2014. For 2 years. And the most spoken word had paid me in 2 years, you guys. Total, not one gig, was like 400K.
No.
In 2 years.
It was a tough time. 2012.
You'd show up for an event, they're like, okay, we'll give you transport. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'm doing this for my heart. Even the 20K transport, someone plays that 20K. I'm like, what do they understand my struggle? So I don't mind being broke because I'm kind of a minimalist. I don't need much. But then it was getting to an embarrassing age where it's like you're constantly leaving the house to do work.
Yeah.
You're constantly coming back home with no proof of work. Some people know your name on Twitter, but that's not, cashing in anything. So 2014 January, I got serious. I walked into the radio station in town. Can I say it?
Yeah.
I walked into Sanyo FM. I'm like, I want a job. That's literally me. I walked up to the reception and I'm like, I want a job as a radio presenter. So the weekend before, someone had sneaked me in. I'd done a voice test, but no one called me. So I got impatient. I walked in. I'm like, guys, I want a job. I've done a voice test. What's up? So they made me wait there for a while, came, talked to me. And after that conversation, straight into training, immediately, I was like, hey.
Yeah, well done.
Okay.
I was like, okay. So I started training. They dilly-dallied for a while, didn't give me the job, gave the job to someone else, which was a shock to me as well, and everybody there. Because it was like, what? Guys, it's obvious. I was very humbled.
That came from far.
Very, very humbled. So at the time, someone whispered to Seema, who was the programs director at XFM at the time. I don't know if I can say the person's name because this story was also told to me in secret. It wasn't like something that's supposed to be out there. So someone whispered to Seema like, yo, they're wasting Maritza's time here. I think she's good. Can you hook her up? Seema is like, come through. So I go through and she's like, you're going to do the show with KK. I'm like, but KK is dope on his own. Yeah. Does he want a co-host? Are you setting me up for embarrassment? Like, what's going on? Like, it felt so surreal because I'm like, I've had 3 months training. They're putting me on air with KK. I was freaking out. So she's like, yeah, you'll do with KK. And then maybe, the other stuff, they give me a Sunday show and a countdown, like just to get used to doing radio on my own and basically to grow. And Sima was just so amazing. She like opened the door, taught me so much. I got in trouble a lot because I kept messing up. And every time I'd see her in the studio, I'm like, please don't fire me. But it was great because I learned pretty fast. But the thing about radio is you learn through the years because a lot of the rules change, the times change. So you're constantly learning. So I think the most important thing for me at the time in that season was, one, make money. Two, grow constantly. Yeah, because even as an artist, if you're not growing constant, as a spoken word artist, if you're not growing constantly, people are going to sign out, people are going to move on. I'm like, yeah, we had that poem. Give us another one. So it was very important for me to be in a space that allowed me to do that. Yeah, so radio distracted me from spoken word.
It was paying the bills.
There are two things you said there, and I like when we have something one week and it just carries on to the next. There's something you said there. One, you've mentioned KK a number of times and mentioned how it was KK. And it's crazy that we had Rudende last week telling us, I honestly think, and I quote, I honestly think KK is the best radio presenter we've ever had in UG. And I don't say that lightly. That was then there's and now when you say that, it's like, oh, it carries over, and that's nice. Yes, guys, we planned this. This is what we do. But aside from that, you've also mentioned the constant work and that it takes, the fact that times change, the fact that you grow. Rudende did mention how radio has evolved, so there's also that. But also as an artist, you've said it. You're like, you have to keep. Maybe not. Let me not say reinventing, but at least progressing with the times and making sure you're growing with the times. And I think that's important for our many listeners, as the many creatives or many different things that people do out there. So yes.
I like that. Thank you.
And at the time when you moved to radio, did you actually really stop doing spoken word, or it's something you'd sneak off and do on the weekend or something?
I actually didn't stop because I was still working with Open Mic most of 2014. I left Open Mic in 2014. It wasn't even intentionally, just to separate myself from radio. That was a rough season for spoken word. 2014, there was a lot of conflict with the platforms. Meanwhile, spoken word was not a well-received form of art in the literary community. For a few years there, we were like the outcasts. Remember the Bayaye, Bobby, the season where Bobby, Bebe, and Chameleon were like, the Bayaye of the city. So we were like the Bayaye of the literary community. So it was very complicated because even us as spoken word artists, we were clashing a lot. We were fighting over nonsense, which I really hoped it had stopped, but I found out some of that stuff is actually still going on. But it became harder to be involved and still be on radio and still try to push the career because every job I do, I take extremely serious, which is terrible sometimes. It became harder to be in conflict and then still trying to build something here. So I released myself from Open Mic mostly to be an independent artist while I'm on radio, because people have done that. Lillian's been on air. I think most musicians have tried the radio thing, and I thought I'd be successful at it. I thought, while I'm on radio pushing my artist career, I will end up like Blue 3. I'll blow up at some point. Whoa, radio was like, we are serious, and then I was also like, I'm serious, and then I think I can say 2016, 17, 18 is when I really almost had no spoken word going on. Because I really did try to push 2015, did a lot of events, worked with some NGOs who were giving good money at the time. That's when they started to give some good money. Then radio and then I also started doing TV. So media just became my life. And I'm one of those people, I'm not a hustler. I just like to do good work, but I also like to rest a lot. So when the work time has ended, boss, look for me. You won't find me. So it was hard to do both, and it became overwhelming. So it happened very naturally. It happened naturally and slowly that by 2021, I started freaking out because I'm still on air introducing myself as spoken word artist and media personality, but the spoken word artist is like, you performed once in 2018, performed once in 2019. You didn't perform at all in 2020. We all know what was going on. And next year you're celebrating 10 years of spoken word. What are you celebrating? You know? So that's really what happened. It became
And so
hard.
it's at that point that you say, you know what, let me...
No, at that point I hadn't decided to leave yet. So the plan was, because I'd gotten very comfortable in media, it was not like when I was building, right? Yeah. So because I'd gotten very comfortable, I was like, okay, now we can actually focus. Plus we have more money to invest in the spoken word. So I start 2022 off doing a lot of digital poetry, exploring, the things in spoken word, because there's so many things you can do with spoken word. I get some good gigs, make some good money. In like a month's time, I think I made 2 mil in 2022.
That last time it was 2 years.
400K, you guys. So when I made that at the start of 2022, this is Feb, I was like, Wanji? What?
Back
all
to
I
the
had,
drawing board.
right? Yeah. I was like, all I had to do was put in the time and the effort.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and meanwhile, that's just from 3 gigs. Actually, no, it was 2 gigs. Then the March gig gave me more money. So that's from 2 gigs. I'm like, what? Okay, let's do this more. So I started to push for spoken word. Then the way 2022 played out, the gods were just like, Heifer, quit your job. They were like, quit your job, go back to spoken word, organize yourself. So I started getting into the spoken word spaces, right? Then one time on one of the platforms, this is actually, I'd already moved to Next Radio at the time. So I'm on one of the platforms, engaging with the spoken word artists. Meanwhile, I didn't even know like 90% of them, because this is now like new territory.
Yeah.
So I'm engaging and then I perform. You guys, my heart was so broken. The host of the show was like, what? I didn't know you were a spoken word artist. Wow, Maritza.
Wow.
You're so good. So she says that. And then 2 other poets say that. And these are like some of the, well-known spoken word artists like right now in the communities. And I was like, and meanwhile, they've been around for a while. They've been around for some good time. I dare say more than 5 years. And I felt so embarrassed, and I felt a little stupid, because it's like I kept telling myself like, yeah, I'm doing media to push spoken word. Whoa, way. So that was such a wake-up call for me. It was such a wake-up call. So even the job that I was doing at the time, it became a lot more complicated. The heart that I was putting in was like, things were not working. Like, it was just very clear. The only thing that's going to work from now henceforth whereof lift up your spoken word career. So by the time it came to, signing a new contract, I think my spirit was also just not into it. Yep. And I was like, let's do this. Either we're going to do it or we're not. And we're doing it.
Well, for those that might not have known you, at least something, let me say, good I can say is I remember I saw a tweet, I think from Wake, after you guys had been in the papers or something. I remember seeing something from Wake where he was saying, Maritza is one of the people that got me into spoken word. I'm like, if this is good for me, like, in a sense of like, this is great. Like, it's interesting to hear, because Wake is Wake. And like when Wake says, then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I actually did give him a call.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. Yeah, like, listen, I watched her perform, and like the command, the power of the words. She's the first person that made me realize the power of words, the power of commanding an audience and stuff like that. So I was like, so for those ones that didn't know, you don't worry. you don't worry.
I'm glad he said that. That's very encouraging.
There's a question you answered that I was going to ask, but you answered.
Yeah.
Which was, given back then you made 400K in 2 years, but now you've come back. Like, how is the
it's better.
financial situation in the spoken word community?
Honestly, I'm learning now that the financial situation is up to you.
Yeah.
If you want to make money in spoken word,
you
will make money in spoken word. And so far, like, I make a little bit of money. I haven't yet made the big bucks yet, because the big bucks are writing for civil society organizations, creating concepts and selling them. So that's the big bucks, which I'm kind of working on No, I'm not lying. I'm not kind of working. I'm fully working. Like all my eggs are in this basket. So I'm really working on. But I've been making some decent money on performances. So like for 15 minutes, I'll get paid 250K, and then I can go be about my life. Literally to pay my rent every month. I just need like.
And after this podcast, 15 minutes are going to become 500K.
Listen. So that's like for public performances.
Yeah.
So like that's performing on like events that are open for selling tickets. So private events I charge more, corporate events I charge way more. So it's like the standard of payment. I am getting paid enough to survive.
Yeah.
So the goal is to actually even just create more opportunities for other spoken word artists, because I'm back in the industry and I notice people are still comfortable showing up to receive 30K. Why?
You know, that is one of the reasons, or one of the things that made me say we need Maritza, is that I was seeing that push. I'm like, we're not talking. It's not that I'm reaching out and asking you or whatever. I'm just seeing it. I'm seeing this push for the spoken word community, and I feel like that's so dope. And I'm like, because of course we do hip hop and urban culture and whatever. So this, of course, falls directly in there, and I feel like the outcast, not even hip hop is the outcast. So outcast to outcast, hip hop is spoken word on a beat, but like it's so I feel like it's great. It's always nice to see like there's work that's being done for yourself, but it's just those people out there that we see in different communities, whether it's some artists who are just pushing for their little conglomerate just there around them. And so when I see that work or that push, I think it's really dope, because I'm like, I even be like, let me write something and see if one day they may also take me to. I even called Paul the writer. I told him, I'm like, wait, we should even have a segment where we.
But you should. I'm here for it. Don't give me too much props, because the truth is I'm pushing myself.
Yes,
it's just that I have enough clout for me to push myself and bring that clout to the industry as a whole.
But that's a goal. Like Ian has said this, I think on season 1 when we had Play as a guest. I think Ian is like, we have to understand that even if this is my portion of the pie, if we grow the pie, make a percentage of that bigger pie is a bigger portion. So yes, pushing yourself is not that. I think the two have to move together. You push yourself, you push the community, then people give the whole community more for these same things, and you gain more. So it still moves together.
You've mentioned clout, and I wanted to ask you. So you are this spoken word artist who is known, right?
Yes.
But then you go into media. Of course, now there's this person in media who is killing it on radio, who is killing it on TV, who is hosting events in different spaces, who is interviewing international artists, by the way.
You guys are interviewing Cranium. I'm still breathing from that.
Yemi Alade.
Oh yeah, Yemi Alade as well.
Yeah.
Let me plug also myself. King Kakam, the one who did that media tour.
And Felix.
We say international. He went to Nairobi, now he's international.
Nati is with Kimani from Nairobi.
So as you're doing all these things, you are building the brand that is Mama Kla, that is Maritza.
Yeah.
So now Mama Kla / Maritza comes back to spoken word.
Yes.
So all that brand influence and the brand you've created somehow is going to sort of like by default shoot up the prices. So I wanted to know how much has that played this side, and then also for a guy or a lady who is out there who doesn't have that, let me say that route, that path to be like, okay, let me first go to media, build my brand, and then come back and say, how can they do it in the sense that they continue with a spoken word, but again, they build a brand that can still charge a comfortable fee?
Okay, so that one's easy, because I think the only reason I was able to get into media is because I built my clout as a spoken word artist. So at the time, but you guys, 2012 was so hard. We were editing videos using Windows Media Player. Like real amateur-ish, right? So I was doing a lot of that, even with open mic. I was doing a lot of that, trying to create content, putting it on Facebook or whatever platform was available. And you can push yourself as an artist while you're still an artist if, say, things like when you show up for an event, how do you show up? Do you dress well, you know? And by the way, me, I have katemba. You will notice me. I don't like like the first performance I did.
You will notice
you
me.
will notice me. And you have to have that attitude if you want to be an artist. I remember the first performance I went for. The first time I tried to perform on stage, I kept getting ignored. I went 2 times, paid my money, which I barely had. Campus is not a good place to spend money. So I'd pay my money, get in, try to perform. They weren't letting me on because it was a big platform. Until one day I was like, Osaga. So I actually So I actually strategized and placed myself I put myself that day at the event. I put myself in a position where the host could not avoid me. I bugged that guy. I tormented him until he put me on stage. Granted, he put me on stage when the show was done. Like the main act had performed. I remember it was Munji who had performed. Drunkenness had really reached the ceiling. But it's things like that allow you to be like, okay, what's my situation? People are barely going to listen to me. This guy didn't want to put me on stage. If I want to perform here again, I have already annoyed him. You know? So in that moment, I was like, it's all or nothing. And I have like friends in the poetry industry who will tell me, you've never topped that performance. Because I was like, you will notice me. I have a job to do, and I need the clout.
And you,
you're gonna love me. So that's really that's the attitude you have to carry. And nowadays, we have resources. We have so many resources. Put your poetry on the internet. Put your poetry in the family group, in the friends group. At least start from performing for small communities. Because even when I wasn't really mainstream spoken word artist, I was still getting hired to do private events, write for anniversaries. It was small money, but it was good enough money, you know? So you can still push your brand. You just have to decide. People are going to see me. I am going to be seen. And when you make that decision, whatever comes your way, I think God just even empowers you to be there.
You've said that you will notice me, and I remember I was near some young rappers that were at Meets and Beats on Wednesday, and some of them, they were seated there all calm, all chill, having a drink or whatever. And I remember there's an artist called Rodney. He walked in. As usual, grand entrance, the white beanie, the white shades, or maybe some other random people who don't know, what. At least some of these artists knew who he was, but some other people who were just they're like, hey, you've brought another artist. Who's that one now? I was like, yeah, this is probably the newest artist in the building, but it's just a case of
what's interesting. Last night I hit him up. I'm like, yo, I saw the pictures. They were lit. You were out there.
He's like, guy, you see, I literally said it at the table of I'm sitting next to 4 rappers at that time, and I'm like, see an artist.
Right?
Because the guy walks in and you're like, okay, you can feel the energy, and everyone he stops to greet you, like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. This is.
And the thing is, not everyone is going to be like Katala, because they're different personalities. But you can still be noticed in your essence. And honestly, that's where the clout comes from. The clout comes from being intentional. I'm not the most perfect person to put myself out there. I make a lot of mistakes. My inconsistencies are many, but I wake up the next day, keep doing, keep trying, keep exploring, keep finding out what other people are doing. I watch other people a lot as well. So I would say for clout, you don't need mainstream media. For me, mainstream media, I actually got into mainstream media because of spoken word. And you can make it.
So in this era of the internet, how, because of course for spoken word poetry, it's given the market you're operating in, it's not easy. The acceptance is not that easy. I remember back in the day, I used to be a huge fan of Sully Breaks and George the Poet. I used to watch a lot of their YouTube stuff. So how is that an avenue you're actively trying to explore? Because if people are watching this and they know you're a spoken word artist, can they find your work on YouTube? Can they find your work? Are you creating an online presence, like a catalog where people can go and find your work?
So if you follow me at Mama KLA, please do. There's a link tree, right? And that link tree takes you to my socials and it takes you to some of that content. Yeah. So I think because of the resources that we have no choice but to exist in spaces like on the internet. And the funny thing is, there's a big audience for spoken word on the internet, on TikTok, on Instagram. Like some of the people I watch there's this one girl from West Africa. I think she's Ghanaian. I love her so much.
Yeah. I've seen her stuff just pop up.
Yeah. I am Hua, sits in her house, records the video and posts it up. Like the other day she was like, guys, please remind me to get out of my house. So my videos are in my house. So this is someone that doesn't even have to leave her house. And the kind of clout and the kind of command she has online is insane. Yeah. So we have those resources and we can use the digital space. So there's an actual genre of spoken word poetry called digital poetry, which is what I Am Hua does and many other people. I think one of the most popular ones is called Celia. She's a white girl, so I guess privilege there as well. No offense. But no, for real. And you will have really good artists and you watch their stuff and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And it's 23 views. And you're like, what's going on? So there's different ways to approach it, I guess. But then at the end of the day, that space is there for us to use. And for me, I haven't yet gone to YouTube. I've mostly used the socials because I want the digital poetry to fully exist on the socials, to be a normal conversation. Yeah. You know how musicians post their videos on Instagram, Facebook, and there's engagement. I want that for spoken word.
I tend to read your the little micro poetry things.
Yeah. Thank you.
Those are interesting. Yeah.
So that's what I want.
It's not stopping.
No, because listen, Mark, one thing I've always appreciated about you, you're a consumer of art. I can't say that for myself. I'm an artist and I'm jealous of people like you because I don't have it in me to be a full consumer like he is. So, man, this is talent. Consumption is talent.
Wait, put it on my CV. First
consumer. So yeah, we exist in that space and it's there for us to use. So hopefully, I'm hoping that I can open up a Vivo channel, have some poetry videos that look like music videos. Yeah. At least that's where I'm going.
Oh, that would be so dope.
Yeah.
And there's just something you see. Even podcasts are the way Ian has said, and the way you've also mentioned that the way not the industry, the way the public struggles to sometimes consume spoken word. Even for the podcast, we're still teaching. It's still a thing that we are teaching to the people to get used to or whatever. And I like that one thing that will help either one of the communities, that is a podcast one or the spoken word one, is something that Rudenda said in regards to consistency. You have to just keep putting out the work and trust the process. Let's keep teaching the fans out there that this kind of thing that is being done is lit.
But also quality.
Yes.
Quality is very important. Yes. Honestly, I feel like sometimes it's not that I have clout. I think that sometimes my stuff moves because it's good. Not even to toot my own horn, but to some extent, I feel like I get an upper hand over some people is because you guys, I really put in work. There's a lot of videos I record and delete because I'm like, my ancestors will judge me also, So quality is key.
So if you were to take your spoken word to the next level, what would be that next level?
This is it, actually. This is it.
Because I've read some of your poetry on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I have this thing I do where most times, even if it's just a song or even when I'm reading a book, I can picture what it would look like as a video.
Aha.
Yeah.
So this is part of it because I'm trying to create a podcast. First of all, I think it's very important for spoken word to have a podcast that is fully spoken word. So doing stuff like this, doing interviews, interacting with other industries, interacting with other spaces, for me, that I feel like that's part of taking it to the next level. And then also, I need spoken word on the airwaves.
Yeah.
So like I told you, 2022 was just there to be like, Vaku radio gwe. So in 2022, I was listening to Kiss FM Kenya and they opened the 9 o'clock hour with Nikita hearing?
Yes.
So Nikita has... Kering?
Yes,
Kering.
she's a bringer of it.
Yeah, so she has, for her last album, she had a spoken word for her intro. These guys, casually, by the way, they didn't even announce, a special moment on the airwaves, some spoken word. No. Casually. News happened, they play a liner, then they play spoken word. As like, radio? Unprovoked? First of all, like, I had that dream and I kept trying to push, where I was for that to happen. And it really wasn't happening because I do have tracks. I have some tracks that have like a beat that can be played on air, and I'm creating stuff that can be played on mainstream radio, but it seems they don't want us to enter that space. The minute I had Kiss FM do it, I was like, you people are joking.
You're jogging.
You're jogging. Why are we always playing catch up? Why can't we proceed? You know?
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see a lot of mainstream stations, mainstream platforms play spoken word. I think Wake has done a really good job. And I think also because the platforms that Wake interacts with are a bit more open-minded, like Power FM. Power FM plays a lot of his stuff. I know Sanyo FM also plays some stuff. They're a bit more open-minded. But like, we need to get into a space where something like spoken word naturally
But you see,
up.
there's also, like what I said earlier about teaching the audience, and because you've mentioned Wake, I remember recently producer Hassan and I were at Expressions, and of course it starts with a singer, Duran Sane, and he sings, does his thing, kills it or whatever, and then Wake comes up. But remember, this is not, I know that Wake tends to perform in like his, let me call him, to his audience, you know what I'm trying to say? But this is a different audience from his. First thing he does is tell them, I'm going to teach you some Luguere. Like straight up, like on top of coming through and you don't even know me, let me even start by teaching you my language. But aside from that, he does 1-2 songs. And in his set, he had 3-4 poems. And I'm like,
it was normal.
he's like, listen, we are going to throw this stuff in the middle. Like, as I get you guys turned, let's first wheel it back in. This is movement. I feel like it's very important as well for those that have that type. Of course, it's the duo thing because, of course, the music got him there, but adding this aspect. But I feel like that's a nice thing to teach the audience because guess what? They were in awe. And me and producer, of course, we know because we've listened to the albums and whatever. And it's like, it's great. For me, it's great to have such moments and such opportunities. But
you call it a duo thing, but I don't think it's a duo thing. I think it's part of the art.
Yes.
And now, actually, as I'm learning how to play the thumb piano, I'm going to learn how to play. I can play a tune now. I can play a whole tune. I'll be there in my house like. So I'm going to learn the adungu. There's sound bowls as well. Same teacher. Shout out Alideki Brian. Amazing. He's so amazing.
Yes.
So like you call it duality, but I think it's part of the art, especially if where you're going. If you want this stuff to play on mainstream radio, what are the standards of mainstream radio? How can you make your work that when you take it, say, to Next Radio, to KFM, they're not like, oh man, we might have to explain to the audience. So you can always have work that, that's for your spoken word, community and diehard guys. But then also, for you to be able to reach communities that do need spoken word, because the origin of entertainment is spoken word, sitting around a fire, telling stories. I was learning the other day about how the Aboriginals have kept their history orally for almost as far back as maybe 37,000 years or something like that. So like this oral thing, we just need to learn how to package it for our society today because it's still lit. Hip hop has shown us it's still lit. 50 years down the road, the number one genre. Okay, this year it kind of declined. I don't know what's happening. but you get what I mean. So you can
so
package it.
People.
Yeah, you can.
hey, today you guys.
Your friend you got connect, man. No, but let me. Speaking of packaging, you did the intro on.
I was going to interrupt her for the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you did the intro on the Myth album.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to it, I remember back then it was something new because that was the first time. Because as a hip hop artist, he was introducing the hip hop fans to this side of the art where he's getting a spoken word artist to do an intro. But it got me thinking. It was so good. I'm like, wait. Why isn't this a thing? Why don't you, a creator like you, create like spoken word albums or EPs or whatever?
You know they're there. They're spoken word albums and EPs. I know I've listened to Sebo Lule, Michi Sabie, Wake.
Mitch, yes.
So they're there online. It's just that Katituba de busy. There's this job I was doing. But I do have a few tracks online. I think 3 tops. But that's what I'm working on now. Like even when you say next level, when I'm creating an album, you know what sounds do I want to put on the album? I have 3 albums already written down. Now it's about packaging them so that, people...
The thumb piano is
adding the thumb piano.
yeah.
So that, people can play them in their rooms when they're chilling on a Saturday morning. There's a guy I love so much called Londerell. You know that Gratitude for the Sunrise. Gratitude, you've heard that tune? So he has several albums. And when you see his listenership on Spotify, millions, 40 million, over 100 million listens. And this is a full spoken word album.
Yeah.
Spoken word pure.
Yeah.
And he just puts a good tune, puts a track, and he gives spoken word that you can play on like a chill day, or even when you're trying to get turned up, you need to get Gus to go out. You find a track like that. So it's not something.
I can imagine Gus spoken word.
Should I give you? Hello neighbor, wakede tuliwano, it's a party over here. Mulifai nikufrayo, tulifai kufrayo. Get people riled up. Meanwhile, that I actually put that together from a couple of tweets. Like in the morning, for some reason that day, the morning radio presenters, Mackenzie was like, Fryo. Then Ogutu, who was also on Capital FM, was like, hello neighbor. And then Sima and Rudende at Sanyo are like, Wakede. And then me, I follow up the tweet. This is all quoted tweets. I'm like, Tuliwano. And then Mulunji from Radio City is like, it's a party over here. Muli fine. So I just put it together and made a chant, and it gassed people up. When I was in Seziwa, I was like, okay, so this works. So we can hype with spoken word. Yeah.
Guys, give Maritza all the money. If she can put a thing out of tweets.
And when you're done giving her the money, if you want to support the podcast, you can send some money to 624404. That's 624404. Sorry.
I can give you commission when they
But I know we've spoken about the spoken word. So spoken word. Anyway, I just want to say something completely random. So I'm going to bring up something which, of the many things that you have had that have blown up and made some kind of noise here and there, especially on the socials, there was there's something. I know
where you're going.
Yes, I'm going there. There's something that someone mentioned the other day, and funny enough, in a positive light, this Kameza money trading thing that happened. How do I put it? I don't know my question, but let me give you the comment from the pastor. No. I have no question. I have a comment.
You want me to react to the comment?
To the comment.
Okay.
Someone said that one of the best things that happened is that when people started making memes or saying or complaining or this thing, she embraced the hate and they got bored. They didn't know what to do. They're like, why are we dissing someone who's reposting our stuff? You know what I'm trying to say? So I feel like that was PR Pro Max. You're not joking. Let's go. Let me repost this. I just want to know, as we're looking for the house, I just say, that's dope, because I think I remember talking about it with producer Hassan. But I'm like, was this the move, or were you just like, no, that's funny, I'm just reposting because it's funny?
In my later years, if I eventually do PR again, I'm going to go as, my name is Maritza and I am a public relations pro max. I'm taking that with me.
You're welcome.
But to be honest, like you guys, I am a very chill person. You can't hurt me unless I give you permission to. That's just who I am. Even in high school, your cousin, Buyu. Your cousin and his friends, I was the target of all the dissing and all that stuff because I can take it,
I would like to apologize on behalf of the family.
Meanwhile, he actually said that to me once. He was like, the reason we come for you is because you can take it. You're chill. So I'm like, I have no standards. So I'm just that person. I don't take words to heart because, I know words can create, I know words can hurt. But then...
wake quote from
Come on.
Anyway, sorry. When the Wake fans are excited, the other people have not got it. Wake, that's in Wake's verse on his Sengeja song.
Yeah. I'm actually on Sengeja.
Oh, the
remix. No, the remix.
The remix of the remix.
So they did the remix. They included some of us. Yeah.
You guys.
So I'm one of those people who I'm not going to take something to heart unless I have to. So for you to hurt me, I have to give you permission. And it was funny, you guys. It was actually genuinely funny because I was just there doing a random interview, clowning, just doing my regular damnish, and then the country is in shambles. I'm like,
you broke the nation.
I broke the nation. I made the atmosphere trend. I'm like, are you guys serious? And that's really what happened. I wake up Monday morning, I'm seeing my Twitter trends. I'm trying to go to work, catch up with what's happening, and I see the atmosphere trend, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. I move on. Then I get to work, and people are abusing me. I'm like, wait. And to be honest, I didn't know any other way to react to it because it genuinely was hilarious.
And if you want to send Maritza some Kameza money, send it to 62440 and put the message Kameza. Anyway, we'll know it's from Maritza. And actually, you said something there that reminded me of this one time we had a basketball game in Entebbe, and Maritza came through with the ninja. We didn't get full Kwanzaa. Again, we only got... But anyway. Just like the podcast. Yeah. But that day, one thing I remember is we're taking an L. And like, guys, the mood was... How chips have what? But then Maritza gave it. Like, as guys having team talk, Maritza came and gave it. I can't quote her because I don't know if I can say those. I can say it, but listen, it was funny.
It's our podcast.
It's our podcast. I can say it.
Say it.
Guys, I'm just quoting Maritza. So like, yeah, guys, next time you need to penetrate make sure that D is strong. I'm like, Maritza. But this guy, what was crazy is these guys who were in this bad mood or whatever, who didn't know this person, and of course they are seeing these girls and they've come to the middle, and then these girls just mash them up. And I'm like, oh my God, Maritza, we should take her to every game. Just
that D needs to be strong. I gave a whole speech, man.
A whole speech. I couldn't believe that was like real spoken word. Sorry, guys. Okay, sorry. My bracket has gone.
No, it's okay. You can reminisce as we figure it out.
I've always wanted to know. You see, for poetry for the longest time, it's always been either about. It's mostly been about maybe social justice or love or whatever. But I feel like that
social justice, love.
It's usually been one of the two. Yeah. And I feel like we are at a point where there is so much going on in the world. So from as somebody that's within that community now, how has it changed? Because I know some people consume poetry as a stress reliever. Mm-hmm. So you'll come and you want to hear some nice words about love and a woman and a man and whatever.
Yeah.
Or some people will just come to these places because you're trying to look for a more sane environment where they're looking at social issues in a more structured way. Mm. So in terms of how the industry has changed and how the audience is receiving it, what are you getting more of? Are people coming to relieve stress, or they're coming to find a sane space where social issues are discussed on a more leveled ground?
So I'm still attending events where it's mostly spoken word artists. So really, it's everything. It's social conscious content. It's love. It's about life in Kampala. Mitch has the funniest poems about about living in Kampala. He's amazing. So in that space today, I feel like people are allowing themselves to explore more than just the social conscious poetry, because the social conscious poetry gets us paid.
Okay.
That NGO money can be so sweet. But then also, you want to be able to entertain. You want to be able to have this genre of entertainment fit in with other genres of entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, for example, right now, I'm done doing sad poetry. Like, that's not part of my brand anymore. Yesterday, someone was telling me like, oh yeah, you write really good poem. Maybe you should do something for Kwibuka. No offense, but no, like I can contribute to the cause differently, but I'm done doing sad poetry because I want to purposefully get people to enjoy spoken word as a light-hearted, fun, bar for bar. The same way they enjoy hip-hop. It's not always big booty chicks and whatnot. Sometimes, it's just Lamborghini Mercy, or enjoying a car or rolling down the street and it's just life, you know what I mean? And I want that experience for spoken word as well, because people had started branding spoken word artists as, the angry political, very serious, power to the people. But no, we can be fun and lighthearted. Why want someone like? There's actually a poem I'm working on right now called "The Hormones." It's about
you tweeted something.
Man, I have to write something about the hormones, because what happens during ovulation season for most women? Listen. There's a hoe in every woman. And that's 1 week every month. She wants to come out.
Hormones.
Hormones. So like stuff like that, relatable stuff. So I want to be able to exist in a space where people want to write poetry because they enjoy telling stories about everyday life. And we're seeing more of that.
I have an example because I feel sorry that Wake is the reference. But like
really
even that thing he did, the Rolex Muslim.
Yeah.
I mean, and for the people who, I wasn't there, but you can still relate because that you just related to your own Rolex guy in your own Rolex story from your own. But like, it's like, this Rolex guy, he does like this, the 2x2. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's so dope. And it's nice to have those ones that are, nothing. And then like, yes, then there's maybe a more serious one, like,
Ochi, love. But I feel like that's what's going to get us on mainstream platforms.
The
ability to...
The best of both worlds.
Like, shout out to your Rolex guy in a poem. See if he doesn't play it in his hood.
You've referenced a lot of poets, especially Ugandans. So I wanted to ask you, for you as Maritza, what keeps your pen game sharp? What keeps you sharp? What keeps you on your toes?
Honestly, God. Because I don't have any real pressures to represent, to represent like a particular group of people or to be a particular, like those pressures go over my head really. So what keeps me sharp is how in tune am I with, the divine? How in tune am I with my experiences in life? And honestly, it's God. Like, you cannot create without God. And I'm a very, very spiritual and prayerful person. I'll be there chilling in my meditation, poem written down. I just have to get a pen and put it down quickly before it goes away. And there's many poems I've written like that. And then there's also many poems that, someone says, give me a poem about, I wrote a poem for CTV and they wanted a Women's Day poem. I brought my ultra feminist ego, put down spiritual words. By the way, I wrote I am a woman I define as. I wrote that poem and they're like, so this is a bit too serious. So they rejected my poem. I did record it later and put it up on SoundCloud because it was a good poem. But then, like, say in a situation like that, they didn't want my overly spiritual, overly in tuned with the divine work. They just wanted something simple, I'm a woman. I walk around and I'm cute, and, and that's what they wanted. And even then, when they told me that, you guys, I reached the shoot of that video and I hadn't yet written the poem. I think because they had told me they were just going to shoot cutaways and they had literally told me on Friday night that we're shooting tomorrow. So I'm like, what are we shooting? Like, no, we'll just shoot cutaways, whatnot. I arrive, I'm like, I'll write your poem. I will eventually. But let's shoot since we're shooting today. And then they're like, oh no, we're shooting the whole poem. I was like, I think I have Dios. Give me 1 second. I went to the bathroom. I wrote that poem in 5 minutes. You guys. I think for the money they gave me, they're going to watch this video and be like, what?
You see how Rudende said he reads freshener cards when he's in the bathroom. Before she goes to the bathroom to write quickly.
But are those guys who change job specifications as the job is going.
The job is going. So again, it's the divine, because in that moment they told me I have to write this kind of poem, and I had to not say dumb down, but change my direction. And I got into that bathroom and I just said, God, this is on you. Because I could have written it, you could have given me more time, but it didn't happen. So this is on you. And I actually checked the time, timed myself. In 5 minutes, I'd written the poem. I went and performed it like I'd written it for some time. I'm like, guys, I hadn't yet crammed my poem. Just keep reading it to me. I played it cool and whatnot. And I pulled it off, and it was a really good video. So it's the divine that keeps me in tune. I don't
saw
have
that video on
anything else.
Instagram when I was also doing research.
You saw it. Thank you for doing
But for real,
research.
I saw it.
You've jumped ship.
Eh?
You've jumped ship.
Man,
As usual, he has left you late.
you stay in your shorts.
Do you think it was good? I liked it. Yeah? I liked it.
But since I don't want to abandon this man, so let me ease things up a bit for him.
All right.
So we're going to play a lyric game, yeah?
Ooh, I hate those games.
So what happens is I'm going to read for you lyrics. All you have to do is guess the artist
Are we all
and the
playing?
song. Yeah. But it's you first. If things get tight, you can pick any of these chaps. If they fail, they have to put some money on 624404.
What?
Yeah.
Why didn't you guys give me these rules? I would have first called my sugar daddy. First activate my account.
You can call later. The number doesn't expire.
Yeah. So here we go.
Let's go.
This one is easy, really. Like we're starting from home.
Don't set me up.
Been a long week. All I'm trying to do is distress.
Been a long week. All I'm trying to do is distress. That is Ninja C, because I know she's about, that life. You know what's funny? I'm really bad with lyrics, but sometimes,
there you go.
I'll remember.
In 5 minutes.
You don't need a
5 minutes.
But this particular lyric stood out for me because, man, the woman was speaking some things on this thing. Been a long week. All I'm trying to do is distress.
What
I'm
song
counting
is
down
that?
this moment all day. I will say for both of us what you are trying to say. Step up to me with a smile. I might just say yes. 1 shot, 2 shots. Let's kill the feelings.
One shot.
It's nothing too serious. They can't hear us. Make me scream. I dare you. It's serious.
Wait,
The woman was writing.
which song is that? Now I can't even remember what song it is.
I know that's why I want you guys.
So I know it's Ninja C.
Distress. It's one of the Taka collaborations.
Yes, it's either
It's,
pick up
it's
the
pick up
phone
the
or
phone.
what
It's
did?
pick up the
Oh,
phone.
pick up the phone.
This is the kind of lyrics where Madam tells you and you're like, Kameza, yeah.
So the hardest part of the lyric game is even when you know the song, Felix reading it, just like it's like you don't.
Also, this
you
one
can't
is
find the
easy, really.
musicality.
Yeah, so no.
It's really easy. And if Maritza, you fail, I don't know.
Fresh.
Your words hurt people. But people will
Will
hurt you
for your words. That's me on Sengeja. Okay, if I had failed that one, I'd have died.
I could see Ian reflecting on his life like, this has been
Wait. That was for Ian?
No, it was for
Everything is
all of
for
us.
us.
Hey, everything's for me first.
Yes, then
yeah, but so when these guys were celebrating words, Sengage, I was like, my finger head has gone. But yeah, those were really important words. Let me read. Let me read
I'm
for the
glad you
guys
like
who are
that.
listening, who are watching.
what if she reads for us?
Oh, okay, you can.
Your words hurt people, but people will hurt you for your words. I've forgotten. I'd have to start it from the start.
Yeah. And that's
But
the
yeah,
He got it in the
I
middle.
got it in the middle where that conflicts people.
I have a process.
I get you. I completely
Your words
get.
hurt people, but people will hurt you for your words. So let fear possess the tongue, and every word, like our pictures, heavily filtered, because I know what to say, but not what needs to be heard. Maritza was in her bag. Guys, go listen to the Senge Jeremy's.
I feel like that.
Shout out to Wake. It's on
that's-
YouTube. You can
right?
check it out.
I feel like this should be terms and conditions for like social media.
But that was before Kameza.
Before you post.
And then when I performed it after Kameza, someone actually asked me, like, was this inspired by the Kameza situation? I'm like, oh, wait, that actually happened to me.
So now this is for the hip hop class, and it's the last one.
Hey, so was Ninja C.
Eh?
Sorry, go on.
I don't need to see it was for the Kwanzaa class.
Okay.
I rule entirely with tyranny. Only a will is gonna retire me. Like glue in a socket, I stick to power. I'm in a position to see opposition simply get killed and devoured. I guess I'm a president with a couple of vices. This compromises my position. My soul is cold as ice is, and here's a food for thought for you.
Vices,
Like Condoleezza Rice is. Going to war with me is looking for tears. It's a crisis. Now, here's the thing. Since Ian is struggling, let it be Ian to guess it.
The Condoleezza Rice.
If Ian fails,
On the Condoleezza Rice. Because
with all the chaos you see, Timanya back in the day, we fought Saddam.
why are you giving him? Why are you giving him? Why are you giving him?
I'm not sure.
Where's Percy? We need a shot.
I can decode for you.
No, hold on. Give me a chance.
But have you? It's
I
so well
recognize
written.
the pattern of writing. I can't place the artist.
Oh, he had me at Condoleezza Rice.
I rule
That's why
entirely with
Hey.
tyranny. Only a will is going to retire me. Like a will, like your will when you are going to, and then also to retire, you like a retire.
So at first I thought it was the myth because that's his pattern
not.
of writing.
Like
It's
glue in a
not.
socket, that is pretty much direct. I'm in a position to see opposition simply get killed and devoured. I guess I'm a president with a couple of vices, like vices to kill
Yes.
other people
Yes,
and
yes,
eat them.
yes.
But then also it's a
Vices.
vice presidents.
Vice principals.
My soul is cold as ice. But you see the Condoleezza Rice line, it gives it away.
That's what I'm saying. The Condoleezza Rice is why I confirmed. Ian,
Guys,
you can do it.
624404.
Ian, you can do it. Just guess any name. I promise you'll guess it.
Navio?
No, it's Ian who can guess the name.
Sounds like something Enigma would write.
Therefore,
Hence,
therefore,
That's Enigma, but yeah.
just help him.
it's not Enigma, it's Benny Black.
Fuck, we told you that's
Never
your part.
would
No,
have guessed.
they went to
what-
school
what
together.
song was it?
They went together. He's always talking about how he's the biggest music fan.
But it makes
So you
it
know why
makes
I kept
sense that
thinking
it's
of an
some-
orgy? It sounds like something written by an orgy UG hip hop
you-
artist.
Yeah,
But
because
you know
those
it's,
guys, the way those guys used to write was like they would write.
Yeah.
So you can guess the class of artists. And when he said sound like Enigma, again, Blizak had the Enigma
Yeah,
connection. So
yeah.
therefore, that's what I'm telling him. Therefore,
Pay the money. I'm even disappointed.
I think Hakameza style is higher amount. So that's the
We went to
usual.
school together. There was breakdancing.
But you guys, this game is not good.
No,
It's
this
foul.
guy is terrible. Actually, do you have one more?
I
Or
don't know.
you're going to go
For
to the,
this week, let's see.
No, you're going to the Damzi one, yeah?
Guys,
Yeah,
I
she's
got
going
all
to do
mine
that
right.
dancing one.
Oh my
Benny, I'm
god.
so sorry, man.
No, you have to apologize. Apollo line, one of the two.
I'll send some.
And
I'll
since you're
send some
Paulo,
dollars.
the writer, Apollo, right? Anyway. Sorry.
Apollo, write this right.
Before they take us to that final section, there's a question I forgot to carry from Damzi. Because she's not here, but she's a serious host toward her questions. She told me like 3 things in the call, but some of them you mentioned, you answered along the way since you were doing your damn thing, so that was dope. But it's this, you mentioned it at a certain point, and I want you to just say, so she knows about your side that is really, you talked about your feminist heart and that other side of you, your alter ego. And she said, like, in these many things that you've done, switching from one thing to the other, or even one radio station to the other, how has the experience been in navigating the industry as a woman? Like, how has it been?
So
before you answer, and on that note, I remember one of your posts where you were like, "Hey, I didn't leave media because of ABCD. I left because so and so was being paid this much money, and I was only paid a fraction." So, in your answer, incorporate that.
I got you. So, first of all, my name is Maritza. I'm a spoken word artist, media personality, and because I've been a media personality for 9 years, I'm also a professional ego massager. You guys, I can massage egos, but I had to learn. But it's been complicated, and like you said, it's a hat. Like I had to wear many hats. I don't claim to be a feminist because I don't believe in political movements, which that's what it really feels like to me. I believe in love. I believe in living in harmony. I don't believe like there's a special utopia where now things are fine. I feel like things can be fine now if we all just, do unto the others, you do unto yourself, and love your neighbors, you love yourself. So that's where I live, and I'll wear different hats to get through a situation, because sometimes that's what you have to do to love your neighbors, you love yourself. And some of the neighbors I have worked with haven't always been pleasant. That's the truth. There's a lot of strife for power, strife for, I guess even importance, but I think I was the right person to do the job for the places that I went to, because I don't have that bone in me. I don't need to prove to the world I'm important to feel important. I don't need to fight for space, stuff like that. And I've worked with some people, I've worked with many people, so don't put any names in your head. There are many. I've worked with some people who will even like create narratives in their mind because of, I guess, maybe the confidence that I ooze, and they'll be like, she's trying to take all the attention, she's trying to steal the shine. Friend, I'm just doing my job. So I had to learn a lot of ego massaging, which is something like, I'm not saying women have to do that. You don't have to do that. God has given me the grace to do that, and I don't take it for granted, because I know even a lot of the people that I mentor and counsel, it's hard. It's hard, and it's not hard for everyone. There's some people that are really kind, there's some people that are understanding, but generally it's really hard for women. There's women who will pull me aside, like say when I'm going to work with someone, and give me a heads up. They'll be like, so this person, they're like this and this. And there's people I've worked with where there's not a single woman who's had a pleasant experience with them, but me and this person, our relationship has been great. Not that the journey was easy, but ego massaging, And I've had to, I guess, improve my people skills, and then also just, it's never that serious, It's never that serious. When you give people grace, sometimes they also get to give themselves grace, and many times they show up better to relate with you, so you don't have to have like the strife anymore. And yeah, like I try not to take things too seriously. So when a lot of those problems would come up, someone actually accused me like, she brings her feminist things. I'm like, first of all, I'm not a feminist. Secondly, if you weren't biased, you would notice that I defend everybody, because if you put me in that position to defend someone, I will defend people, because I feel like human beings really deserve more grace. We are trying to figure it out. Nobody has all the answers. Even your pastors that you're going to put on a pedestal, they are just as confused as you are. So I find it very important to give grace. So I think that's how I've navigated it most of the time. And then also just being able to switch up the hats, what does the situation call for? A feminist, I'll put on the feminist cap, represent women, encourage people to, support women, or do things that will be a little less patriarchal, because you guys, it's rough out there on these streets. But then also, after switching up the hats, go back home, pray, cleanse your soul, cleanse your system, because the world keeps feeding things into you, and the more you take them in, you'll just become as ugly as the world. It's something I like telling people lately. Like, if you're not overcoming, you're becoming what you should have overcame. So if it's a bad job, a bad co-host, a bad boss, disrespect, even amongst peers, you have to find a way to overcome that, because if you don't, you will become, I guess, washed up, washed out, bitter, angry. Yeah, so that's how I've incorporated that. And then the payment thing, where I worked was just very disrespectful because they do that to everyone in that position. I don't know, I know very few people who have been through that place without disrespect. Like they really pass you through to grind you in the meat grinder. And so for situations like that, I would never bring it up, as of, oh, how come this one is getting more money than me and this is getting more. It was really a situation of, this is what I deserve. And you are deliberately refusing to give it to me when you can afford to. For example, before that guy was making double my salary, the previous guy was getting paid in dollars, $1,000. And I was making 800K. I'm like, you say you don't have the money to pay me what I'm worth, but the signs show otherwise, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it was always a situation of how much do I believe I'm worth and how much are you giving me? And at my last job, I was getting paid the most on the show. And like it meant nothing to me because I know that's what I'm worth. Like you in the room, if your negotiations were not for your worth and you decided to stay, that's your decision. So you need to be able to know what you're worth so that you can stand up for yourself. And that time, even when I stayed for that 1 year, it was 1 year, but I was like, I'm giving you guys 1 year. Had a meeting when it was time to re-sign the contract, up my salary, and they started giving me stories. So in that meeting, I was like, this is my last month. Funny enough, as soon as I say this is my last month, the next day KFM called me. The next day. And like I say, sometimes God just has your back when you decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
Ian, last episode, Ian said at the end that Felix should increase the benefits of the on the pod. So
Hey, producer is leaving. What's going on?
You see, we have to be careful. On the guests we let on this podcast, because now people are unionizing.
Mutiny!
People are unionizing.
Start trouble.
And I have just one more small question before I again derail us into the less serious side.
Try love.
And that small question is
You can go.
it's from a 1 week.
Yeah.
He said I think you mentioned open mic and whatever, but like he said for him, the first time he got into spoken word because of those spaces where, there was something for people to learn and you pick up on that and you're mentored and you're whatever. So he asked, what do you think about, should I say the lack of? I wouldn't know. You guys know better. That's why you're the professional. That's why we've brought you. But like, what do you think about the availability of such spaces where guys can, learn and be mentored into the spoken word situation? Do you think they're enough? Do you think there could be more? Or do you think they're there, but we could just maybe tailor it a bit better? I don't know.
I think they're there, but they could always be more. I know the platforms that exist today do offer like a lot of mentorship, especially if you're trying to get into the space. And they're very particular, like they're very judgy. They're like, everyone now wants to be a spoken word artist. You're here representing us, but representing us badly. So they are concerned about, the image of spoken word. So a lot more people are getting invested in maybe even training and I think just showing up in the right way as a spoken word artist. So the spaces could definitely be more, but for me, it's not even about the spaces. It's about how we show up, There's people I mentor who, I haven't done a lot of mentoring lately because I've been busy, but last year and the years before, they show up when they feel like it, The serious people I've mentored, have gone and done something with their careers. There's some of them who are on air. So there's people who are willing to mentor. It's just also you who's trying to do this thing. How committed are you to the thing you're trying to do? Are you wasting people's time? Are you confused? Are you, maybe I might want to do some spoken word? No, be certain. So I think the spaces that are there, how well are we using those spaces?
Okay.
Because they won't increase unless, we use them well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, plus I'm looking forward to like more purposeful training in the spoken word industry. That would be nice. Like with the purpose. Yeah, that would be very nice.
Okay.
For clarity purposes, for some of us who are not in that community, when you say training, what exactly do you mean?
Training would be like rehearsals before a show. Usually during rehearsals, that's when, you'll get the criticism, the improvements. I know Lado Poetry does that. And sometimes they'll, rehearse for a bit and then you will be the featured act of like one of the nights. And now it's your night. So you have to bring it. You have to represent. And, other artists see that and it's like, okay, when it's my turn, I go through the motions. So training is really just... actively being prepared to exist as a spoken word artist. So sharing your poetry with some people, getting people to check it out, read it. I know Davis the Poet has spaces where they sit and read poetry together and everyone just goes through, the work and they're like, oh yeah, that's good. You could do this better. If you do this, you'll uplift it and make it better like that. So the spaces that are there, they're doing their best. Yeah.
Nice. Mark, do you want to take us for a trip? Or?
Yes, I want to take us for a trip. Right on cue.
Taking a trip.
So, we're going to take a little trip. Drama. Go ahead. Dim the lights, what? Mood music. No. Man, our production, we're getting there soon. But I want you to tell me a Ugandan song that takes you back to a specific moment in time, person's place, something. A song that brings back a specific memory. And tell us the memory. I hope it's safe for. But anyway, but yes, a Ugandan song.
And you sang it a little bit. I need a drink is what I came for. And just so you know. Tuliwano, and I'm riding in a Range Rover, make a rush over, Tuliwano, that song. So last year when I got hired by Next Radio, they were trying to do be a little extra. And me, I like it when people are trying to be a little extra because then you get to explore many things. You get to discover many things about people. You get to bond. And in the being extra, they made me choreograph a dance. I don't know who whispered to them that I used to dance. Someone whispered. Someone must have. He's the whisperer. Someone whispered to them that I used to dance and they made me choreograph a dance that would sort of do a TikTok, create something dope, just to introduce the new crew and the old crew together and whatnot. So I choreographed a dance to Tuliwano because for me, it was like, guys, Tuliwano. We here. We're about to do something great. We're about to do something different. The reason I was excited about audio-visual radio was because it's so many opportunities. Audio-visual radio can actually promote spoken word art because sometimes people won't want to just listen like, Onali Kuchi. But if it's got like a visual element to it, you can watch like some really great videos. Like there's people I follow online that do really great spoken word videos. So like me in my mind, I'm like, the future. So Tuliwano was just like, we're about to do big things, On top of that, like I felt good about myself, like career-wise. I had rarely felt good about myself career-wise because there was a lot of that conflict of how much are you giving spoken word, and then also it sounds stupid, but I don't like to be seen. It sounds really stupid for someone in media, right? So like I didn't like that, there's this chick on this big breakfast show, and it was real, and I was like, that's serious. So it was really bugging me. So it had been a while since I had been very comfortable in my career. So like that season, like that April, March, getting into May, June, I was like, Tuliwano, Tuliwano, And so I choreographed the dance. Some people felt like they were too big to learn it. Good for them. The ones who learned it, the ones who learned it, we did a great video. And that's just, every time I play it, I go back to that time. And it makes me feel like, you know what? No regrets. That was a good year. You were there for a purpose and you fulfilled your purpose.
Ian?
Tuliwano.
Back to you.
I think it would be We're Back. Ruyonga, Jetty, and So Severe. I think the reason why
Ian was anyway. Let's not go there.
The reason why that song, I think about it every week because when I'm going to work after Kisu, Jetty's studio used to be right after Kisu, and that's my daily commute route. So whenever I'm passing there, I'm like,
I used to try.
Try.
Yeah. Emphasis. No, don't lie to him.
And when I think about Jetty's stint, I think that's easily one of the best songs to ever come from that studio. So it's a daily reminder of the career he tried and the best that came out of it. So
one day you'll be driving across and then he's like, yeah, we're back now.
I hope not.
You'll be shocked.
No, he's been gone for the longest. Where is he even?
Oh no, for me it's fire.
Which
Why?
one? Light
Tikta
and light.
Navio. Tikta
and-
Myth, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, because the
No,
Kalaita,
the Myth and Tikita.
and then also you hit me up asking for the catalog, so I went back there and then
And on that note, they are going to probably abuse me again, but that's why I have you in between, like to use as a
Let's
shield.
go.
The intro for the Myth Ugandan album. No,
You really set us up today.
You guys are losing.
You
You're
really-
losing.
no, because Maritza did that intro, and I'll say what it takes me back to. Aside from the first day I had it, which was 24th September 2020. Aside from where I was sitting in that exact moment, there's
Yeah,
also the
just
fact
come back.
that we're in lockdown now.
hey, you know this guy, the world,
French
not even the
embassy.
country.
Focus. And
Diplomatic passport
in that
holder.
thing, you have the greet me in the name of we go to Pana. And let me tell you, every time I hear that thing, it takes me back to WikiD
Yeah.
at Pana and how many people used to text. We go to Pana.
Yeah.
Like when you have a chapat in your life, we go to Pana.
We go to Pana.
Like when I remember when I first heard that thing, I was like, this sounds like 10,000 people in my life. So yeah.
Did you get the cast shout out?
Oh,
We go to Pana, hard guy, floored and cast out by a
cast out.
wickedy beat. Yeah.
Speaking of Pana and
You never
lockdown
went.
and
Yeah,
Mark
sorry.
traveling,
Yeah.
it reminds me of the
that's
story
the-
Felix told. Lockdown, people can't move. They're chilling at Pana, partying.
It wasn't lockdown,
Some guys come in suits. They whisper French to
Yeah.
Mark. They take him outside in a French embassy S-class, and he disappears.
let him
They
cook.
text him. They're
He's
like,
cooking.
"Yo, what's up? Where are you?" He's like, I'm in France. I had a gig here and there. So
Did he actually go to France?
Man, you can even be here now.
For work or for a smash?
A little bit of both. But you never asked for details. But Mark, you can even be here. And then you text him in the evening. Tuli wano ku concert oliwa, and he's like, I'm in New York. That's how he works.
I'm going to need to cut you. I don't know if you're wearing wires.
That's how
What
Mark
spy are
works.
you?
The only wires on this one. Anyway.
That's why sometimes we don't count on him.
His diplomatic passport is.
He can just leave you there
You're
in a
lucky
movie.
today I don't have mine. You can count on me, Shat.
You imagine you've ordered your drinks, and then Mark's like, yeah, I'm going to sort out the bill. Before you know it, it's not
I'm
there.
in Dubai.
I'm in Dubs.
How far have you gone? Have you gone
They're
to
lying.
the stands like the Uzbekistans and because if you've gone that far,
Kazakhstan.
then you're a spy.
We just don't know yet, but we think Mark owns an island, like in the somewhere out
Ian
there.
owns
Yep.
an island.
mine is in Uganda. Yours is Thousand.
It's an
Nice.
landlocked country. It's in a lake. Yours is in an ocean.
It's still an island
It's a small piece
in
of.
a landlocked lake.
Let's be
But,
guided. Focus.
Again, Damzi being serious, she sent some little bit of would you rather questions. And Maritza is the one who's going to ask them.
Sitting in her chair,
Oh, Lord.
doing the honors. Now it's my
These
turn.
questions scare me.
They do? These are pretty chill. I think she was being very kind. Let me start with, guy stuff, because this I'm like, why?
Lord.
Would you rather be in a real version of The Walking Dead or Jurassic Park? Real life, serious things.
Jurassic Park.
I have to say Jurassic Park also.
You guys aren't scared of dinosaurs.
No, it just eats you at once and you're gone.
Oh.
But except for Mark. But for me,
Wait, except for Mark.
Yeah, we're not sure about
for
you.
me, for me, it's
I'm
one
questioning.
bite.
Well, he's short, so
Have a little one bite.
But Mark would never be there in the first place. A chopper would take him. So.
You guys,
Yeah,
you
but-
know how they rescue women and the kids
And
first?
children first. Then women and
They
children.
rescue women first.
Very, very important person.
You know, slander is usually like some stuff about you.
if
And
Mark-
somehow he's gonna say extra positive things. And
If
slander-
Mark had been on the Titanic, he'd be the one on the door in the water.
Yeah.
Rose would be in the
In
water.
the water. Yeah.
I wouldn't get such a beautiful movie.
Jesus.
Man, if Mark was on the Titanic, that ship would have never sunk.
Of course.
Yeah.
How would they let it?
Yeah, patch the holes up real quick. What's an iceberg?
Patch the whole up real quick. Mark.
So, Felix, would you rather?
It has to be a Jurassic Park. A Jurassic Park.
Guys,
But for you would not die quickly.
Why?
Because you're big, the dinosaur eats the arm. Tomorrow they come for the stomach. Just do Walking Dead.
I did. I can't.
how big do you think dinosaurs are? First of all, this is one scoop. Just scoops you up
Also,
in it.
I'm picturing it from a fight. Like they have short arms.
Put him up.
Before it shoots me, I can get in a few jumps.
No.
I swear.
Cannot fight.
Who's saying to these people? We need another question.
I don't understand why you guys picture it.
we need another question. No, you know what? Man, those things are complicated.
He wants to reenact the Michael Jackson. So, Walking Dead. That's what he's doing there.
I do Walking Dead, to be honest.
Imagine
Just
Mark.
be there with them niggas playing Thriller.
Hey.
I know why Mark would choose Walking Dead. Before those zombies eat him, he's like, excuse them, what?
Please move.
Silver play
Silver play.
on a plate.
They have you, eh?
Silver play on a plate.
I can only empathize.
I don't understand
I have
what's going
nothing
on.
to do with all this
I don't
distance.
understand what's going on.
All right, let me get into the second
Yes.
one. Would you rather work more hours a day but have longer weekends, or work few hours a day with more work days?
Huh?
So you know how you have, if say you are working 16-hour days and then you have a longer weekend, or you have 4-hour work days and more work days,
Longer
but you
week-
work every day.
Longer weekend.
Longer weekend.
Yeah, more hours a day, longer weekend.
No wonder you haven't slept.
Longer weekend.
No, the weekend is still short.
Oh.
That's be a longer weekend. Though I feel like regardless, it will still feel it's very short when
Yeah.
you get there.
Yeah, because we literally did this in our third year of uni where we crammed all our classes in two days. And like there were long days, up to even night classes and stuff. But knowing that from the next, like, so Tuesday,
have 5
Wednesday, you
days.
have class. So we had a 2-day week and a 5-day weekend. Like that was our.
Yeah, I think I'm on the other side. Yeah, might be the Venus and Mars situation. I'd rather work like few hours every day, but at least I work every day.
No, but
Yeah.
then how do you plan? How do you plan like a vacation? Like proper
I take my
activities?
work with me. We live in the work from home life where COVID has allowed us to do crazy
One of the
things.
most positive things about COVID.
Right? Yeah. So
Like I wouldn't mind working for an entire week, then I take a week off, work an entire week, take a week off.
that would work for me if I didn't have the Martha syndrome. You know Martha from the Bible? That
is a
she
Martha
could not.
syndrome?
Let me tell you, it's a real syndrome, by the way. You can't settle. You're constantly just tick, brains working, hands are working. Like I go to people's homes and start cleaning their house. It's a real
So
syndrome.
I'm free tomorrow. How you doing?
Listen, I'll show up with mops. Don't play with me. All right, this is the last one. Would you rather be always cold or always hot?
Cold.
Cold.
So cold.
Cold.
So that the Chinese come, I make.
Cold? I think I'd rather be always hot because I used to suffer from sinusitis and I was always cold, even in weather like this. Like there's heat outside right now, but I'd be freezing. I'd be like,
Listen,
sneeze, sneeze, sneeze.
I
Yeah.
can't sleep when
When it's hot. Yeah.
ooh, no. It's impossible.
Yeah.
That cannot be it. That heat. I was sick a couple of weeks ago and I'll never feeling hot that one night, that fever of that night. I was like, no.
Yeah, because it's easy
This-
it's
this-
easy to warm up when you're cold.
Cover up and whatever.
But when it's hot
and you're melting, I come alive. I'm not even going to lie to you.
Was using the exact phrase to complain and she just took it. So sweet.
I don't understand you guys.
No, it's like sitting in a car with no AC. You're so uncomfortable. You roll the windows, the hot Kampala air enters.
Take
you can't do anything.
Mupachi, it's getting hot in here.
You just have to be hot to warm all the Chinese. But then also you have to move to a country where you can survive being hot. Because you imagine being hot in a desert. That would be a struggle. Wrong target market, so you have to move to a country.
Like Alaska.
Or like Iceland, somewhere out there where you are just, constantly hot.
For you looking at it in terms.
Is that the last question?
Yeah, that was the last
We
one.
survived.
Looks like it.
Damzi really went easy on us this time because sometimes Jesus is Lord.
These were really good.
Oh.
Yeah, Damzi, if you're watching, thank you.
We're short.
But towards the end there, it felt like season 1 where Mark was the subject.
Man.
But Maritza, thanks for coming through.
Thank you for having me. I feel like you might have to dissect this podcast. I talk too much.
I think it's within our normal time frame.
I hope so.
It's within our normal time frame.
We producers would have sent us away. But yes, we'd like to thank everyone that has sat here with us and watched us for this long conversation with our amazing guest.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for
I
coming.
appreciate you. You're so much fun.
People do these ones.
So when you go back, tell the other Kwanzaa lady.
Sab.
You know
Yes.
what? You
Okay.
have to go to this podcast.
No,
So let me
have our
lay down
mission
the
for her.
ground for
We
Sab.
have our mission for her.
You have your mission for
Oh
her?
yeah.
Hey.
Oh
Yeah, you guys
We'll
like.
tell you. It's not for the pod. It's
not
not
for
for.
your own.
Yeah, like give her a reason to come through. Yeah.
We have it.
Plus, she's a hip hop head, so she'll have a good time.
We got her. I know where we need.
All in all, guys, shout outs
Everyone.
if you have been watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sending some company. The producer emphasized subscribe.
Oh yes.
It's
Yes.
very important
Yeah.
these days.
It's important.
Before we were just saying be around. Being around is not paying the bills. Subscribe, share with your people. Until next week, guys, thanks for watching.